Well, Jim, we've had a long show, but before we get out of here, speaking of everything in AEW being a mess, let's go back to Collision. Stories have now emerged, another situation. Apparently, Jack Perry and CM Punk had some sort of disagreement over glass. Have you been keeping up with this story?
I've seen a number of things reported on the internet and on Twitter, and I believe every bit of it because it sounds exactly like both individuals.
Well, I guess the story is that Jack Perry, in a backstage segment, either a promo or just some sort of attack, wanted to use real glass in a segment.
Well, I don't think he's Moondog Maine. He wasn't going to eat a light bulb in a promo. It had to be some kind of, sorry to be a cavalier with you there, my fine feathered friend. But it had to be some kind of attack or angle or something. And there was obviously a disagreement. Jungle Jack wanted to somehow use broken glass, real broken glass. And apparently, from the way I heard it, the agent of the match and or the medical staff and or other people said, we don't think you ought to do that. So it was brought to Punk to get his viewpoint, and he told the child, as you should do when you're trying to instruct and or discipline petulant children, he said to Jack Perry, we don't do that on Saturday nights. Which indicates to me that at least one person in this company is trying to do what they're supposed to be doing, which is do a professional television program in the manner and kind and genre that it is supposed to be, professional wrestling, and do it well and do it professionally and do it somewhat safely and not have all this childish outlaw garbage involved. And apparently the petulant child that was being disciplined, or in this case, not disciplined, but being instructed that this is not the kind of thing that we do on the real wrestling program that this company produces, he got pissed off and was arguing about it. I think at that point, they should have said, tell you what, you can use all the broken glass you want. You go out in the parking lot, break you a bunch of bottles, roll around in it, we don't care. But you're not doing it on the television program because you're not important. And we don't want this bullshit that you people do on Wednesday night fucking up our show. That's what I heard. Did I fill everybody in appropriately?
Approximately, I believe. What does this say about just the overall problems? And we've always said they were going to be problems, but they usually were enough things on the other side of the pendulum to swing things a little bit the other way. There was a Cody Rhodes in the back, at least sometimes. But in terms of talent being given the ability to just do what they want in AEW.
Well, it's going to continue probably on Wednesdays because that's where Tony Khan is fully in charge and he has no balls. And the rest of them have an indie mindset that they're never going to get out of. And that's, why they're the state that they are. On Saturday, it appears that there are rules in place for what is and is not going to be done on a wrestling show. And that's refreshing and sorely needed. And again, these fucking jack-offs these days, they think they're goddamn TV stars or they're entertainers or whatever. Okay, if you were a fucking Hollywood actor, Jack Perry, since your father was a Hollywood actor. When Luke Perry went and auditioned for a comedy, as part of the role, did he just go against the script and break into song, even if the comedy wasn't a musical? Or if he's auditioning for a part in a drama, does he start cracking jokes in the middle of the goddamn main dramatic scenes because he knows some funny jokes? Now answer.
Well, again, I don't think that you should use glass. I was going to ask you about instances with glass in wrestling. How careful do you have to be?
Well, for one thing, most of these morons don't even know. They're trying to fucking slam each other through the windshields of cars and shit like that. And that, as Goldberg will tell you, that's a crapshoot every time. And you'll remember when Lawler got run over in the fucking parking lot by Eddie Gilbert. He had on long sleeves and he had on long pants. And he was able with his, even though it was a warm day outside, as some people remarked on, that's how he could cover up having some elbow pads on, because you're not only taking a bump on concrete, but you're risking, some glass along the way. Goldberg did punch through that fucking car window and severed an artery and almost bled to death. I mean, broken glass, the only time glass was ever used in wrestling was the old bottle deal. Break a bottle over a guy's head. Some guys wanted the real bottle broken over their fucking head. Do you remember Cactus Jack were you at that thing with Eddie Gilbert, the 2 out of 3 matches, Joel Goodhart show in Philly, or was that before your time?
That was before I was going to live events, or at least independent events, but it was 2 out of 3 falls, but it was 2 out of 3 matches. It was 3 different stipulations.
And they spread it out through the night, but at one point he had Eddie trying to break a real bottle over his head, and Eddie had to hit him 3 or 4 times. And I mean, everything else is exposed. I believe we've talked about it before, but it's not like they're smart enough to even know how to work with shit like this. But what you do is you bake the bottle at a certain temperature for a certain time, depends on the bottle. You got to play with them. And then you take it out with the tongs and you dip it in some cold water, and it's going to crack, but it's not going to fucking shatter. It's going to stay in, and then you put it carefully in the goddamn holder. And then it requires a little sleight of hand and make sure it doesn't fall apart during the swing before the impact, and you break the bottle over the guy's head. And it's still going to cut him because it's still real fucking broken glass. But that real broken glass can be found by the fans and they can say, God damn, that's glass. Whereas the fucking sugar bottles they use in the movies won't stand up to scrutiny. And if the fans don't see the bottle close before it's broken, then they don't know that it was cracked to begin with. And you close your eyes and hope for the best that a piece of glass doesn't get stuck in your fucking skull, but it's probably not going to sever a fucking artery like punching through a car window. And for people rolling around on real broken glass or taking bumps through window panes and all this bullshit, well, you're the same to me as the fucking bank-addicted drug robber or the plumber or any other of these garbage fucking geeks that bite the heads off live chickens and take bumps through broken glass. You're a fucking moron, and you deserve what you get, like old Grover. And if you're using fake glass and you're rolling around in it, and you're not ripped open from asshole appetite, then you're telling the people that's fake glass. So just don't use the fucking broken glass, you fucking morons. Anyway.
All right. Well, that was the CM Punk Jack Perry glass issue.
And again, that's exactly, there needs to be a man with balls and commitment and authority to explain to these fucking children what kind of show they're going to do and what they're not going to do, and what's tolerated on this program and what's not, and what the rules and the guidelines are. And this is the first time that that's been done in AEW, and that's what's leading to Saturday night being a watchable television program that a wrestling fan might enjoy, instead of a fucking LSD-inspired mess that only the fans that want to laugh at wrestling and think it's all a big fucking joke can sit through. And they're not happy about it. They can get mad or get glad as far as I'm concerned. They need to do it on everything they fucking do. And maybe then something would be accomplished. And that's my thoughts.